What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, back with some more Resident Evil 5 gameplay. And today, well, just right before the Summer Game Festival happens, or Fest, or whatever you want to call it, I couldn't pass up talking about this just absolute gem of an article. And this will be my second video where I basically have a little fun at reading a game journalist's article about game. Because anytime you talk about Resident Evil, I'm definitely got to give it a look. And this one, unlike the first one, which, obviously was the whole, Cammy, original skin problematic and all that BS, but, did give me a good laugh out of it. This one is a little bit more sinister because half of this article, the first half, I don't have a single issue. In fact, I pretty much agree with it. And it kind of lures you in, like, good bait on a fishing line. But once it pulls you in, you realize, just like Admiral Akbar once said, it's a trap. It's a trap. It is definitely a trap. So the article today is basically titled Why Capcom Shouldn't Skip Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake and not do Resident Evil 5, but remake Code Veronica first. And basically it says all the things that you would expect to hear. Reasons why, just for, Claire needs a follow-up from Resident Evil 2. Obviously, if they do remake Resident Evil 5, which I think they will, it's not going to hit as hard and be as good without having Code Veronica as background check, not just for, Chris, but Wesker and just the whole setup here. And they argued you could possibly do it, but it won't be as effective. And I completely agree with that. And they say a bunch of other things and stuff they can do. And for the most part, I said the first half of this article, it's dead on. But it's the second half that I just wonder if they, got hijacked by somebody or was another person writing it, because it's just completely different. But they go on to make arguments of if they do remake Code Veronica and even throw 5 in there too, of changes they need to do. Now here's the thing, anyone who wants to remake these games understands that, hey, you want to have this, respect the original, but you can add some things, maybe change up things, maybe make things a bit better. But they go to proceed to things that just no gamer gives a crap about. So let's get into this. One of the things they mentioned, and they said, and I do agree, is they can make an annoying side character in terms of Steve a lot better, and I think we all can agree with that. But here's the thing, I've said this before, and I made it in my Code Veronica video of things I would change personally. Steve is not my most disliked character from the game. Now, this is an unpopular opinion, what I'm about to say, and I don't hate the character and his concept. I just hate how it's executed. The biggest change, and they talk about this one a lot, would be with Alfred. Obviously, the brother of the Ashford twins. Now, my thing with Alfred is that I have no problem with the setup, what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to do. The thing I just question with him is I always felt like he didn't feel like a Resident Evil character. It feels like a Borderlands character. And then when he's running around, cross-dressing and taking pot shots like an a-hole and that goofy laugh, it just, you can have the brother who's, trying to look up and obsessed with his sister without going all that route. I just don't think any of that stuff really need to be in there. But of course, with this article, it takes it way too far. They want that whole thing changed up, but not for the reasons of trying to make it better, because they're worried that it's going to negatively affect something. So basically what they say is that Alfred is a character that needs the most changing because he's a mentally unhinged man who is obsessed with his sister and at times impersonates her and assumes her identity. He cross-dresses and talks to himself in different voices. But however, he is not a trans character, and he amplifies harmful tropes that people who dress in non-conforming gender clothing are threatening, and that mental illness and cross-dressing are linked, which they are not. While the game does not necessarily share these viewpoints, it reinforces these stereotypes with the abhorrent line from Claire where she calls Alfred a cross-dressing freak. It is an offensive moment that is harmful to the trans community. And then they go on to some report from certain people and some percentage. And when you start just reading this, you're just thinking, are we talking about a video game here? Or are we talking about some social study here? This, it's a game. It's not that big of a deal. But basically they're saying that, Alfred is harmful to the trans community, which I highly doubt an actual trans person gives two crap about Alfred in a game Resident Evil Code Veronica. Like, seriously. Anyone who's played the game Code Veronica, I don't think anyone is sitting there thinking, oh, well, this is harmful to trans people. I don't think trans people give two craps. Honestly, they got enough problems to worry about in the world. This is not one of them. Give me an actual problem. But the thing I always laugh at is, like, it's like, as I said, I have my problems with Alfred, but once again, I want him to change to be better. Like, as I said, am I a big fan of him going around, cross-dressing? You can do that a lot more effectively without him having to cross-dress and do that. As I said, you can have the whole thing where he's, obsessed and trying to act like his sister and stuff like that, but it just make it feel more fit for Resident Evil. But this person's just more get rid of it because, it's going to harm people, which not, Stop acting like everyone is so, like, I don't know, sensitive and, more softer than Charmin tissue paper. But they go on this whole study, and it's just like, it's not that, like, big of a deal. And not to mention, they are a villain. They're going to do some unhinged things. It doesn't mean that, because they're villainous, this is going to be, it's portraying a certain type of people bad, which I'm going to get to in a minute because they follow up real good with this, and I'm being very sarcastic. But yeah, they said Alfred's got to change. But here's the thing. While this was about Code Veronica, then they turned into Resident Evil 5, and this is just, I find hilarious. But they said, obviously Capcom is going to have to be willing to update its games for modern audiences. You hear that a lot, and I'm not one of those people that get, like, upset when I hear that, because once again, that can mean a variety of things. But here, they're like, when they inevitably make Resident Evil 5 the most controversial of all Resident Evil games, a lot of changes will be necessary. And basically saying that, Resident Evil 5 was met with instant disdain, which is funny because if that were the case, then explain to me how Resident Evil 5 is the most sold Resident Evil game of all time. Like, seriously, like, it's, like, that's the funny part about, it was so controversial, met with such disdain. It's the most sold Resident Evil game of all time. Like, to this day. It's like, yeah. Like, just because a few people, and I remember this because, as I said, Resident Evil 5 was the first Resident Evil game I ever got when it first came out. I remember a few articles about it, but once again, you got to look at the whole body of work. Are the people playing this game thinking the crap you do? But in case you're not aware of this, but obviously, they claimed that Resident Evil 5 was, very racist because, as they wrote, the plot sees a white character, Chris Redfield, going to an African country and murdering the infected black population. The opening, in particular, was reported as using iconography described as traditional racist fear-mongering. Back in 2009, they published an editorial that investigated whether the game was racist. They have a link to that. I clicked on that and I read it, and oh my god, it's like you had to investigate whether the game was racist. Like, wow. Like, yeah, I'm pretty certain that Capcom, over there in Japan, they basically said, you know what, we're gonna make Resident Evil 5 and we're gonna make it racist. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. And they're like, basically they had to change it. By the way, let me ask you guys just a little logic question here. This has always confused me. So basically they're saying, hey, because Chris, he's the white man, and he goes in an African country and he shoots up all the black infected. This is obviously racist. Where was the argument in Resident Evil 4 when Leon was going to, over there in, Spanish type country and shooting up Spanish people? What about when Chris was going over there in the segments in Resident Evil 6 with China and shooting up, Chinese people? Like, where was the outcry on that? Or, it's just like, if you want to be that way, you got to be that way fair to everyone else. But no, you never hear any of that. It's only when certain, type of people. In this case, you can't have, white guys shooting up black people. Not to mention, that's not why Chris walked over there. Chris was there on a mission trying to save them. I mean, what would you rather him do? Not go there and just have this stuff keep going down? It's not like he had a real choice. I mean, and if he doesn't shoot them, they're going to kill him. Would that be all right? Probably would if some of these people to write these articles. But yeah, and the best part is they make a little, in the whole, article way back in 2009, they were basically talking about how, the one sequence which we showed earlier in this video was when the white woman was asked, screaming for help, and then got brought back in there by all the black people, and basically, it just shows how dangerous they are, trying to make black people more, fearful, be more scared of them. And I'm thinking, and someone wrote a good comment way back then in 2009, was basically like, okay, well, what do you want? Would you, if we flipped it reverse, would that be good enough for you? If you had, a black person screaming for help and a bunch of white people infected them, no, you need to be complaining about that. Okay, so what about we just do black on black? Oh no, well, that'll be too offensive too, because be showcasing being this, maniacs or something. Okay, what about white on white? Oh well, no, you can't do that either, because they don't have roles for blacks. And basically this is like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you possibly, like, what would make you satisfied? And it's just, that's the answer right there. Nothing is going to say. That's why you just kind of got to laugh at it. You can't take it too serious. You just got to laugh it up and have a good time, have a good laugh, because none of this stuff is ever going to be good enough. But yeah, basically they're like, well, they need to change up Code Veronica and Resident Evil 5 so it can be enjoyed by a new generation without problem. It's not like, that was a problem originally, because I'm pretty sure people enjoyed both these games without problem. As I said, problems to actual gamers, people that actually spend their money and want to play good games, not sit up here talking about stuff that nobody cares about. But it's just, oh man, and it's just funny. And not to mention, these games are made by Japanese studios, so it's just hilarious to me. But because they always say, oh, it's a white problem. Yep, and Japanese people made these games, so it's just like, what are you really saying? And honestly, I just feel like it's more these people who write these articles, they sound more offensive and racist than the so-called games they want to criticize for all this BS. But it just goes to show you that, like, at the end of the day, a fun game is a fun game, and nobody in their right mind is playing Resident Evil 5 thinking, oh my god, I'm going to this African village and I'm shooting up a bunch of black people, and oh my goodness gracious me, or in Code Veronica, oh my god, Alfred, he's harmful to the trans community or something like that. No normal gamer is thinking that. But of course, you gotta have these articles, they gotta write this stupid stuff, and as I say, they try to make it out to be, oh my god, this is terrible, derogative. This was a big problem back in the day. It's like, no, it wasn't. Code Veronica, to this day, people are screaming for it to be remade. Resident Evil 5 is the most sold Resident Evil game of all time. So, yeah, there really wasn't controversy. If you want to say controversial between people writing these gaming journals, make a controversy on anything. As I said, they're crying last week about Cammy's default skin, or, not default skin, but her original skin from Street Fighter 2 being, oh my god, just absolutely terrible and stuff. Anyone who's, knows anything about Cammy, that's her most famous skin. But now they're complaining about this. They're trying to find something to latch onto. But as I said before, I don't take this stuff that seriously. I just laugh at it and get a good laugh, because that's all it deserves and that's all it is. But you know what? Maybe I'm biased and maybe I'm crazy. So I ask you guys, the audience, what do you guys think? Did you think Code Veronica, with the whole Alfred portrayal, was that offensive to trans people? And do you think trans people actually care about that? Do you think Resident Evil 5 was just absolutely racist because, oh my god, you're shooting up an area with black people? Because here's my argument. Well, okay, why don't we just replace them with all the black people with white people? Would that be good? And then I would just be like, no, it wouldn't be, because then you'd be complaining, oh, where's the black people? So it's just like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's no way to winning with these people. And that's the key. There's no way to winning, because they got to cover all their exits and stuff and make sure that no matter what happens, they can find something to argue and complain about. But that is going to be it. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you all later. Peace.